Everyone take 5 seconds being a Muppet with teeth smiling, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, you can't, it at least gets a response. I wish I could be a toothless Muppet, because I don't know. My favorite thing is when the Muppets laugh. They're always like, all they do is shake their head. They don't even do the ha ha ha. It's perfect. Anyway.
Good black magic marker, Chad. Just black out those teeth.
Oh God. I think black tooth is just as offensive. I've apologized for enough in my youth. There's still pictures of me in a video of me walking around as the masked luchador wrestler El Bano. I have enough to apologize for. I thought Nacho Libre was funny on paper, not in actual practice. Anyway, enough of me. Let's all focus on everyone who is part of the open mic. Welcome to Stone Soup, and thank you for watching. If you're watching on the Facebook live stream as I am speaking this, or watching about 12 hours later on YouTube. It has been very touch and go in the life of Chad Parento, Stone Soup Poetry host. I am bouncing from interesting event into interesting event in my life. So it's kind of impossible and not very smart of me, and not kind to a feature if I feature anyone and then have to cancel at the last minute. So it's a lot of last minute open mics. This is the son of the last minute open mics. Then I guess next week will be open mic fields forever or something like that. I'll figure it out. Super combo open mic with fries. We'll figure it out. But thanks to everyone who has joined us tonight. We're going to keep the spirit going as we count down to 2021, the longest decade of our lives. That's how I'm good. The longest decade of our life, 2021. Thank you guys for coming here. If I haven't thanked you enough, I will thank you later. And we're going to start with the open mic. I've randomly we'll put a number to everyone and put them down. So pay attention, listen up, and I'm sure by the time I've finished rambling, Nancy Dodson has gotten that notepad that she said she had to get. So now we're going to go to the first person on the open mic. And that first person is Patricia Kerrigan.
Okay. This was just published today at Mayor Vox today online. They're part of the MOMEG. I put on my mother's shoes and walked on city streets, crossed asphalt and cobblestone gutters, climbed various suitcases to subways, schools, jobs, apartments. Sometimes took elevators when available. I felt the leather tighten, heard souls sigh. Pain rose up vascular roadways. A headache signaled to action. Her past, a telepathic rerun. I already knew how it would end. Emotions created her whorls and lines, and no two fingerprints were alike. Unanswered questions, stepped on anger and grief. Wondered why I still shrink in my own shoes. Thank you.
Thanks, Patricia. Definitely share that. Share the link in the chat and on the Stone Soup Facebook page. And let's see who we have next. Yes, I decided to move up one of our newest members to the open mic. I'm so glad she's joined us via the links I post in the Alien Buddha Press and elsewhere. Let's welcome up Jackie Chow.
Yeah. Okay. I'm Jackie Chow. I'm to.
I'm sorry, something happened. It looks like you got muted by accident. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
No, that was definitely my fault.
Okay. Well, there's a call out there for poems about Barbies. So I'm going to read one of my Barbie poems. It's called Barbie Wearing Orange Prism Scrubs. Barbie is in trouble. She got into an argument with boyfriend Ken in her yellow suburban kitchen. Being bipolar and not taking her meds, Barbie hit Ken with the Merlot bottle, gashing his forehead. which he got stitches for in the ER. Ken pressed charges against Barbie. She was sentenced to 3 months in jail plus 3 years probation, including anger management, psychiatric outpatient program, and the promise to stay on her meds. Let's hope Barbie can get stable and not violate her probation. Thank you.
So where is there a call for Barbie poems? I'm very curious. Whoops, looks like you muted yourself again.
Oh, it's actually, the call is by Limp Wrist. That's an Limp Wrist. And I know of the poet Denise Duhamel. She has a whole book of poems about Barbies called Kinky. So she's the co-editor of Limp Wrist, and they're putting out a special anthology of Barbie poems.
That's amazing. I'll have to look that up and share the link.
Yes. Limp Wrist, that's
Limp
the name
Wrist.
of the publication.
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Jackie. I'll have to look for that. I don't have any Barbie poems, but I remember my sister used to talk about how she only played with her whenever she played with her Barbies, she killed off Barbie. I never quite understood why until later, but
Did she throw another Barbie on the Barbie?
oh my, we are more fun than humans are allowed. Okay, we have so Karen's joining us. Looks like Bill Lewis is finally done kowtowing to not rubbing what do they call that? Rubbing
Elbows.
Rubbing elbows with local politicians. Bill Lewis finally graces us with his presence. Thank you. I don't know what I was even going to substitute elbows with. Thank you, John. You saved me. Let's welcome up third up on the open mic, Miss Jan Rowe, who I owe an apology to because last week I forgot her second turn. I didn't mean, I was so sorry about that. And so goofy to do that. So my apologies, Jan. And if you want to do a third round, you can.
No, that's okay. No, I do have something second. But thank you, Chad. This is called, well, I put a draft of this into the weekly Black Seed Writers every Tuesday. What is it, 9:30 to 11:15, Sprout Hall, Cathedral St. Paul, Park Street. This is called A Century Ago. Recently, a private police group, yes, private as in employed by a corporation, here an oil corporation, broke down the door of a remote cabin to arrest a Canadian Native American tribal leader as the tribe blocked pipeline construction. Pipelines carrying oil have emerged due to the pictures of flaming train cars, towns evacuated, fiery infernos. However, the pipelines spill and contaminate ground and groundwater. I am reminded of the private coal and iron police of Southwest PA who harassed my great-grandparents and great-uncles around 1920. New York State reported a lower crime rate when the thugs went to Pennsylvania to be private coal and iron police. So my great-grandparents and my great-uncle happened to meet unexpectedly another family member downtown, and they stopped and talked. Soon come a coal and iron police on horseback in jodhpurs, telling my ancestors to break it up, move along. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jan. All right, I think I'm getting the hang of this hosting and talking while operating a mouse at the same time business. Let's move on to next person on the open mic. I believe he left links to his 3 crime novels, The Enigma Brokers, The Shadow Killers and the Prague Deception. The latter two were just released recently, so definitely check those out. I know what my holiday reading is going to be. And let's welcome up Mr. John Wesick.
Thank you, Chad. Here's just kind of a new story that I'm recently working on. Jackie heard a little bit about it, but it's kind of regarding yarn bombing. If you ever seen yarn bombing, it's like people will cover a building with crochet or something like that. So this is called Alpaca Sunrise. Detective Dirk Steelcase was the kind of cop who didn't let sissy rules like the Fourth Amendment stand in the way of justice. No matter what the limp-wristed politicians at City Hall said, he'd never seen a jaywalker reoffend after a few dozen jacketed hollow points in the back. His unorthodox methods earned him a few nicknames in the department, such as Thug, Asshole, and Trigger-Happy Motherfucker. In spite of his efforts, crime was rampant. It was going to be a long day of searching department stores for contraband scarves and pepper spraying managers who asked to see a warrant. What better way to start off than with a hearty breakfast of sugar, coffee, and sodium nitrate at Flo's 5-Spot? Shock greeted him like a punch to the jaw when he climbed out of his 30-year-old Ford Crown Victoria. Instead of the plate glass window that hadn't been cleaned since the Sam Yorty administration and the burned-out neon sign that read Flo Ive Pot, he found a tapestry woven of nightmares covering the diner's facade. This wasn't the Bayou Tapestry, but a ghastly crochet of knights jousting with a unicorn in front of an audience of Belgian surrealists that would make the most hardened gunnery sergeant's blood run cold. Ever seen anything like that, Dirk? Flo wore an apron over her margarine-colored polyester dress. Her hair was a chemically enhanced auburn, and her eyeshadow was the color of the L.A. sky. You mean yarn bombing? Yeah. Dirk touched the .50 caliber Desert Eagle nestled in his shoulder holster for comfort in Cali, Colombia. Yarn bombing? It's a kind of graffiti that uses knit or crochet to deface public objects. Well, isn't that the cutest thing? Damn it, Flo, these yarn bombers are nothing to sneeze at. If you don't remove those stitches pronto, your diner will be Knits Templar territory. I don't need to tell you what that means. It means thugs shaking down your patrons in exchange for cheap mittens and restrooms occupied in spite of the customers only sign. Steelcase, get in here! Clive Pelican Smythe called from his office. A thin man who wore a deerstalker cap and smoked a meerschaum pipe. Steelcase's supervisor had been on the job since Prime Suspect debuted. Poaching him from the Falklands Yard had been the department's attempt to appease PBS viewers. Like most British actors, Pelican Smythe spoke in a flawless American accent when he wanted to. This is FBI's Special Agent Jenny Neutral, Pelican Smythe gestured to a short-haired woman wearing a polyester pantsuit. I'm assigning you to help her with her investigation. She'll fill you in. Robin Pearl, head of the Knots of the Round Table. Neutral slapped a photo of a dead man on Pelican Smythe's desk. As she did, her sleeve hiked up, revealing a jagged scar on the back of her arm. It was the kind of scar you got from blocking a machete or a broken bottle in a bar fight. The stitches were uneven, as if done one-handed in a public bathroom. At least the medic wasn't a goddamn knitter. Ralph Lapel, she slapped down another, and then added a third for good measure. Jonas Salk, head of It's Knit Finney, all leaders of yard bomber gangs and all killed by a knitting needle through the temple. Who's behind these killings? Steelcase asked. Someone using the alias the Sheriff of Knittingham, Neutral said. Washington thinks it's a power play to take over all the yarn bombers in the Southwest. I don't need to tell you what it would mean if this sheriff succeeds, Pelican Smythe said. It means thugs selling sweaters outside elementary schools, mass shortages at fabric stores, innocents caught in the crossfire of knitting needle rumbles, and a 20% increase in the janitorial budget to clean this mess up. Steelcase, I want you to find this Sheriff of Knittingham and unravel his scheme. Pelican Smythe stared Steelcase in the eyes. Unravel. with extreme prejudice.
And give me the name of the detective again.
Dirk Steelcase.
Steel Case.
What did you think I said?
I thought you said Dirk Steel Cage, which would still be amazing. You know, it's almost like when Mystery Science Theater have like I think they were reviewing Space Mutiny, and it was Red Brown who was playing like a muscle bound meathead, and they just kept on thinking of better names for him. They were like Lance Brickhouse, like Lance Brickhouse, Steel Chest Hair or something. They were just making up names, but Dirk Steel.
Well, that would fit right in with the spirit of the story. So yeah, you know,
I know it's pretty amazing, but now I want a Dirk Steel Cage novel series. But
oh yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I can dream. I'm a dreamer, and hopefully.
But you're not the only one.
Yes, we're all dreamers, man. Oh, speaking of the Beatles, there's in addition to the documentary, if you go on YouTube, I might even link it on the Stone Soup. They actually came out. They never had George Harrison video on YouTube for My Sweet Lord, and they actually made in a celebration of the anniversary of George Harrison's solo album. They actually came out with like a little short film that features the song My Sweet Lord, and it features like an array of actors, including Weird Al Yankovic, which is how I first heard of it. And Weird Al can actually cover George Harrison songs very well. He's got an amazing band. Anyway, enough rambling. Let us go now to someone who I hope didn't get knocked off the call. I don't know what keeps on happening, but I'm glad she's here. You can catch her work today at oddballmagazine.com. She provided the photography for our first poem today by, I believe, Cheryl Snell. Let's welcome up Karen Sclanny, who I'm going to ask to unmute.
There you go.
Yes, you're here.
Yes, finally. I had to revert to my phone because the internet was not behaving on my my desktop.
Damn you, internet and desktops.
Yeah. So, okay, so this one is called My Life Loves Living, inspired by Mary Oliver. My one wild and precious life wants to take me to the beach, to throw myself into sparkling, foamy waves and eat wild blueberries. My one wild and precious life wants me to walk through the forest, hugging trees and weaving flower gardens to wear my head as I swing from branches and vines, petting the moss and stones with my toes. My one wild and precious life wants to drink from streams and ride down waterfalls, to swim in vernal pools and to befriend chipmunks so I can hold a nut party with them. My one wild and precious life calls me to gaze at the heavens and clap for the meteors dancing by across the star-speckled, milk-ribboned indigo dome. My one wild and precious life leads me to crawl on hands and knees, to be at eye level with my cat, so that I can pet him and rub his chin to hear his happy purrs. My one wild and precious life calls me to walk the labyrinth path, listening carefully to the secrets shared with me by all the critters, and to look closely at the sun-splashed pine needles by my feet. My one wild and precious life pulls me toward the fresh air and raindrops, laughing about everything with my daughter. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Okay, moving to the next person on the open mic. Who do we have next? We have Mr. the unbootable, the unable to be taken off of the one who can't even get off of the Zoom call even when his internet fails, just keeps on coming back. He is the immortal Chris Fitzgerald.
So you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, the first one's dedicated to everybody who was at the last Christmas reading at Charlie's Tap, Stone Soup 30 years ago. This is the poem, a little ditty. It's called "'Twas the Week Before Christmas at the Freaking Poetry Reading." 'Twas the week before Christmas when all through the city no one believed in anything. 'Tweren't very pretty. No more roly-poly fat men, no statuesque blonde, no reason to be jolly, no rhyme except diphthong. Up yours, Rudolph Santa. Fuck yourself, Tiny Tim. Bon voyage, mes enfants. I'm exiting up the chim. And this is the other poem. Well, this is a poem. This is called The Luncheon Special. Then I called you from Dublin. 3 months of Sundays had elapsed since we had been toe to toe. Enthusiasm was pouring through that machine, but he kept saying, no change, no change. Challenging my authority on how your voice sounds when permeated by another being. Your last words, have fun in Dublin. It was pub quiz night in the Irish capital. My job was to answer the arcane American historical questions, such as what was the first name and religion of the third virgin Elvis Presley slept with? I said, Cindy Lou Shakers, but it was Betty Jo of the Quakers. After the game and maybe one more pint, I think I'll leave a message on a business answer machine. Okay. Say I come back to America. Say I come back. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm seated at a booth all by myself at Ian Ryan's restaurant. What are the chances of you joining me for lunch? Are they 50-50? Are they better? The superiority of the food takes away from any company suspect. Remember, just like always, you won't have to get the luncheon special, although I probably will. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Who do we have next on my list, which I barely look at until it's time? Oh, yes, I'm going to unmute you now, Miss Nancy Dodson. Or actually, let me see. Let me take a moment. I have to actually do it. I actually have to do it, Nancy. Sorry, my bad. Wait, what's happened here? There you go. You are unmuted, ma'am. You are all set. Nancy Dodson, ladies and gentlemen.
Independence Day. Ladies are in their bathing suits. Water, water, water. Better than their underwear. Sip, sip, sip. Consumption is for 2 hours. Yes, fireworks happen to you. Sip, yes, yes. No one is to blame, my dear. Liquid refreshments are in view and are for all our peers. It happens to you too.
Thank you so much, Nancy. And who do we have next on the open mic? Yes, I believe we have the man I call Gentleman Galt, Mr. Ed Galt himself. It is your turn, sir. And he incidentally had a really good photo up earlier this Tuesday at oddballmagazine.com. And his work's been really good all this year with more to come and hopefully some more artistic contributors so I don't exhaust the ones we have now at Oddball. For now, Mr. Galt, you are up.
Okay, thank you. This is called Suppose, written a while back. Suppose it's not a scowl, but simply a serious demeanor. Suppose I am not stupid, but simply smart in a different way. Suppose it wasn't just a come on and that I really wanted to know you. Suppose I do all the things that the next guy does that you are never around to see. Suppose that there are people who like me, suppose there are people who like me and choose to see things that you choose not to see. Suppose there is someone out there who sees the things that you see, but chooses to see so much more. Just suppose. Thank you. That's for all those people who feel misunderstood.
Thank you, sir, Gentleman Galt. What do we have next? Yes, we have the marathon open micer for Stone Soup's online existence. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Carol Weston.
Oh, hi. Well,
Oh, sorry, I muted you by accident. Oh, no. Okay, now you're unmuted again. Sorry about that. Dear Lord.
okay. Anyway, so I gave the sort of biggest reading in my life. It was 10 minutes. It was supposed to be 10 minutes. I went 8 minutes over because another person didn't come. So anyway, it was at the Grolier, and it was in honor of Spoke magazine, which came out, a huge, huge copy. And I'm going to read a review of me, and it's outrageous, but I'm only doing it once in my lifetime. It's written by John Mulrooney. I guess that I met him through Stone Soup, and he has and so he's written this to introduce me to the readers of Spoke magazine. So it's called The Unadorned Essentials, Poetry of Carol Weston. It's only a few miles from Boston University to Beacon Hill, but the journey Carol Weston took from her classes with Robert Lowell to the magic Stephen Jonas meetings hosted at his apartment near the Massachusetts State House spanned the length and breadth of American poetry. Carol Weston has energized the New England poetry community with her presence and poems for more than 5 decades. Born in Brookline more than 80 years ago, she studied at Bennington College for 3 semesters and at Boston University with Lowell. Although she has lived in Greater Boston for most of her life, she did spend time in New York, where she worked in occupational therapy at Pilgrim State Hospital, and Colorado, where she befriended Stan and Jane Brackett while they were at work on the Dog Star Man cycle. Through the Breadloaf Writers Conference, she began her association with poet George Barker. She was almost the only woman who attended the Jonas Magic meetings, legendary but loose gatherings for the study of occult poetics that included Jonas, John Wieners, John Donne, Wieners, Joe Gunn, Jack Spicer, Robin Blaser, and others. He is one of the longest continuous participants in the Stone Soup poetry group that was initiated by Jack Powers in the early 1970s and now continues on with Chad Parento at the helm, and I will break there. Thank you.
You were just getting to the best part. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Thank you so much.
Hey, Carol, can I just say that they did a feature about Spoke 8 on Lit Bomb last Saturday, and they mentioned you there, so good on you.
Thank you, John. And thank you, Carol. I'm going to bring it on to who is next. I don't know if he's available right now. He said he was doing something, taking care of something in the oven. We can skip him around. We can move things around if need be. But Cece, do you happen to are you available right now? If not, I can go to the next person. You're unmuted, but I don't hear anything.
Sounds like he's building a spaceship.
Out of bass guitar.
He's washing the dishes.
Don't blow your cover, Ethan. Oh God, Cece, I don't know if you can type, but it looks like whatever's happening, we can't hear you, even though you're unmuted. So I'm just gonna go over to Bill Lewis. I hope you can fix whatever's going on. I'm muting you now, and hopefully next time I call on you, you'll be all set. Ladies and gentlemen, in lieu of CC's response, I'm going to go over to Mr. Bill Lewis, who is
Yay, Bill Lewis! Oh,
otherwise known as Santa Guy Bill.
Yay, Bill! Yay! God, he is the most popular guy. Every time he gets up here, people are cheering and jumping up and down. God, it must be wonderful to be as beloved and admired as Bill Lewis.
It is. It is.
Oh my goodness gracious. I spent the first part of the evening listening to Ayanna Presley talking, and she was full of wonderful things and quotes, and God knows how many tons of money being spent here and there, and it all sounds so wonderful. And my only issue is that there's still people on the streets. How can we spend billions and billions of dollars and leave people on the streets, the same people, year after year after year? She was not taking questions, but at least I wrote it to her. My only point of frustration. But our mayor, Wu, is pushing on it. She's working on masks and cash, and God bless her. It is such a hard problem. These are not sweet, innocent little children we're talking about, but being real and treating them like human beings. God bless her, because it ain't easy. So I now wish to read something wonderful and happy to you. These things are so good. You all know that I perform as James Madison when I'm not Santa Claus. And let me tell you, things sucked 200 years ago. A plague hit Philadelphia. In 3 months, 1 out of 10 people was dead. Boom. So, you know, we got it really good today. We are so fortunate. It's unbelievable. We all have teeth. I should have no teeth. I should be completely blind and deaf. But in the modern world of medicine and opportunity and good health, look at all the wonderful things we have. It's so impossible to believe. Never have there been so many people who've been so healthy and have such good prospects for life. So I was starting to write a letter, and I just thought I would read you the letter because it's Christmas time and other happy times. And most kind and gentle friend, I have chosen this moment of quiet repose to put in writing some of the excitement and joy that has blessed me this glorious, though dangerous year. It is said that a person does not know what they are capable of until the time comes when they are called upon. Here, the multitudes may have shrunk back from the precipice of the future, but those few others will press on. They are the ones who accept the dangers that accompany all great endeavors. Some of them will fall. Indeed, many have already fallen. So all the more glory and respect to those who face that danger and persevere forward, my friends. Forward. We have nothing to lose but our fears. The world stands before us. Do great things and be blessed. Ho, 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 ho. Love you all.
Thank you, Sir Bill. And who do we, oh, I'm going to see if Cece, are you able to unmute yourself and be heard? I hope the mic situation is, I hope you're just away with the at the oven or something. If you're able to communicate, let's try now. Uh-oh. Without your camera, I won't be able to pantomime and do the lip sync again. So we'll figure out what's happening. Oh, okay. There's the camera, but you're still on mute. You're still no sound. Well, I'll tell you what, if you want to start writing your poem in the thing, we'll do the lip sync again. But for now, If you can figure it out, that's great. Otherwise, I have no choice but to go to Ethan Mackler, and maybe you can do an interpretive dance. There we go. Ethan Mackler, you are up, sir. The pulse of Stone Soup and of Boston is ready.
Hallelujah! Bravo! Bravo! Encore!
Well, thanks to Bill for providing his own interpretive dance in lieu of CC getting offline and hopefully, or disconnecting and hopefully coming back later on for round two. But we can't have a round two without finishing off round one. So let's bring us down to now to the man whose work, the column It's All One Thing, will be published tomorrow at Oddball Magazine at 11 o'clock in the morning without fail. And I urge you to check out the magazine, check out Oddball, and if you haven't submitted yet, the Christmas Wars is our annual call for submissions. It's our own take on the war on Christmas. Whether you're for or against Christmas, I guess, whether whether you dress up as a Santa, whether you're sad about the Santa shortage, or if you cheered when the Fox Christmas tree got burned, we want your perspective. And we've gotten a bunch of perspectives already, and already some great visual art from Bonnie Matthews-Bruck and others. So you have until the 19th to submit your own try. But thanks for coming. Thanks to those of you who are on the call that did submit or did spread the word. But for now, let's go to the man of this hour, the man at the end of this hour, Mr. James Van Looy.
Thanks, Chad. So I have a piece here called Flint, Michigan. Flint, if you look at it on a map, is at the midpoint of the Native American / Indian Saginaw Trail that cuts across the thumb of that mitten, Michigan, from East Detroit, where my grandparents lived and my mother grew up, through Pontiac and Flint to Saginaw and Bay City, where I graduated Bay City Central. We used to drive through Flint on the old Dixie Highway to visit my parents' families in the big city, Detroit. And then I swam in the pools of all those high schools when I was in high school. And they were setting up the consolidated water systems to pipe water all over the state. In the late 1970s, I took a train to Toledo and then a bus north. In those days, buses still went in and out of every major city off the interstate, which made the 2.5 to 3 hour drive into a 5 or 6 hour ordeal up I-75 to home. In Detroit, I had to change buses. And when I decided I would take a walk around downtown during the break, as I once had before I was drafted, I discovered downtown was now somewhere else. There, amid floating papers and flapping plastic bags, contorted forms wreathed in the shadows, so that I turned on my heel and headed back to the station doors, passing an unaware dawdler who was mugged right behind me. Then aboard the bus, I spent most of the rest of the night going in and out of Pontiac, named for the leader of Native American rebellion, Flint and Saginaw, and seeing with my own eyes that each of these industrialized cities had been already hollowed out by the industry they were so much a part of. The car culture of the late 20th century, automobile land, drive-in everything, and sprawling parking lots, shopping centers already becoming indoor malls, where soon my parents would go for winter walks and my brother would sell discarded books from the library every year for decades. But downtown Pontiac, Flint, and Saginaw were boarded up, dead, past shelf life, discard, while only all-white Bay City, way up at the end of the trail, right at the bay, Saginaw Bay, still had the remnants of a downtown. Detroit, the once king industrial city of America, was cut up like a great square grid cake by expressways, all going to the suburbs. In the 1960s, stories blossomed like flowers of people who drove from Kinconning or Bay City to work in Detroit on the factories there. Crazy, crazy, we would say, 2.5-hour commute every day, crazy, crazy. But that's what they were doing. And now they keep saying over and over, they changed Flint's water from the Detroit water system to save money, even though the state's own emails show an analysis that says the Detroit water system offered a deal that would have cost $20 million less than pumping water out of poor old polluted Flint River that wiped out the biofilm that kept the lead pipes from leaching into their water. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you, James. And currently it looks like CC's trying to come back on again. I wish him luck. But for now, we'll have to start over and go back to start for the second round of the round robin. And Patricia knows that means she's up next. So let's welcome back Patricia Kerrigan to tonight's round robin. You're up, miss.
Okay, this is a poem that I wrote 18 years ago that kept getting revised, like I forgot how many times, like well over a dozen or so. Two treasures. Two boxes sat together on a shelf. A girl stood on a chair, removed the fancier one. The nondescript box made from tinted glass, left to gather dust. She coveted her treasure, opened its lid. Crystal contents bedazzled her eyes, an omen of a bright future. Over the years, crystals shattered and glitter lost its glow. Illusions flew like fireflies. A box sat alone on a shelf. An adult stood on a chair, removed it from dusty exile. She coveted her treasure, opened its lid. Empty contents bedazzled her imagination, an omen of a bright future. Her hands trembled. The box became a glass puzzle. Illusions withered like dead moths. Thank you.
Nice. Okay, we have up next. We go back to our number 2 person for the top of the hour. Let's welcome back Jackie Chow.
All right, I'm gonna read a couple of haiku. Cathartic tears after a year of woes. November rain. Crepuscular rays, remembering the light in times of darkness. These are very new haiku. Striking a chord despite differences. Wind chimes. First time giving birth, a slight uncertainty in the cat's eyes. Uncertain times, my multiracial Barbies gather for tea. Donut shop patio, the labored gait of a fattened pigeon. Chorus, never angelic, sparrow chorus. Tree ornaments, the duck makes a wish to be a dove. Winter morning, the nostalgia of school bells. And finally, Christmas decor, not on me, the Shih Tzu says with his eyes. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Love it. We have next, I'm surely not going to forget her this week. We bring back Miss Jan Rowe.
Hi, this is actually going to go in this week. It's kind of continuation of that other piece. Untitled yet. The private police that in December 2021 broke in to a home and arrested the tribal leader of a pipeline protest, then burned the home and bulldozed the site, reminding of a site bulldozed in Syria, March 2019, about 70 women and kids accidentally killed by drones by the USA. Bulldoze to cover up a war crime. One of our military called it a war crime. Task Force 9, responsible for this war crime. Task Force 9 reported self-defense. Kyle Rittenhouse in Kenosha claims self-defense. Crystal Kaiser in Kenosha wasn't allowed to claim self-defense. She killed her sex trafficker, who was arrested and released the same day she then killed him, this white guy. He had 20 videos of each tween and teen Black girls. Crystal Kaiser should be allowed to use self-defense. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. What do we have next? Yes, let's bring us back to Mr. John Wesick and check out his story. I believe he, where is the, I was actually looking at the story earlier, the Woke Olympics and Not Magazine. I'll send a link to that.
Yeah.
I was only able to skim it, but it looks like a lot of fun. Thanks for sharing that, John, and you are up.
Okay, well, let's continue on with Steelcase. So what kind of guns do the FBI let you feds carry? Steelcase asked as they drove past the Hollywood sign. Food trucks serving Korean tacos, stands displaying healing crystals, and men in straw hats with a team of llamas corralling the Goodyear blimp into its hangar lined the freeway's shoulder, causing rubberneckers to slow traffic to a crawl. In other words, it was a typical day in LA. 44 Magnum, just like Dirty Harry. Neutral opened her jacket so Steelcase could see the Smith & Wesson 29 strapped to her hip. I named her Wristbreaker. Yeah, I suppose that dinky revolver is okay for a lady. This is your town, Neutral said. Where do you want to start? Out of the corner of his eye, Steelcase could see how the blue cotton polyester blend fabric stretched over her breasts. Thank God it wasn't wool. He knew she was a fed and thus off limits, and that they'd only known each other for 20 minutes, but damn it, the sexual tension was so thick you could spread it with a spatula. Not the fat kind you use to flip pancakes, but one of the thin ones that you frosted cakes with. Cake. He recalled the carrot cake at Flo's and wondered if it was too soon for lunch. What was the question? Where do we start? Oh yeah, we start like any investigation, with legwork. Not the cheap theatrics that panders to a TV audience, but the mind-numbing routine of collecting evidence, interviewing witnesses, checking alibis, sniffing out inconsistencies, looking for correlations, and running down leads. Expect weeks of 14-hour days cross-referencing samples found at yarn bombings and products sold at federally registered yarn distributors, and chasing down credit card receipts. Attention all units, the dispatcher said over the radio as Steelcase drove past the control tower at LAX. Reports of a 119 in progress at Sepulveda and Waitlakotay. Shots fired. That's by the Getty. Steelcase took the microphone. One whiskey bender responding. He rolled down the window, attached the magnetic flashing light he'd bought on eBay to the roof, and dropped the pedal to the metal.
Love it. Thank you, John. And who do we have next? But now for something completely different, Karen Splaney. Maybe with a hard-boiled story about chipmunks. I don't know, but we'll see what happens. I don't know if you know, Karen, but looks like you're still muted. I still can't hear you.
Okay, there I am.
There we go.
Okay, this is an acrostic poem called Ripe, I think. What am I doing? Yeah, called Ripe. Reveling in summer's warm farewell, clear evenings spent gazing at stars, warm tea in hand. Pillows are cool for dream-filled sleeping until dawn's awakening to eggs sizzling and coffee brewing. There you go.
You can taste that morning coffee now, and it's not even 9 yet. Oh, thank you, Karen. And now, up next, I could always use a phrase now for something completely different because it's kind of true with this open mic. Let's welcome up. Let's unmute and welcome up Mr. Chris Fitzgerald. I said, let's welcome up Mr. Chris Fitzgerald. Okay. Chris, you're falling asleep at your post over there. He's Patricia, he's in the Matrix. Yeah, wouldn't be surprised. Okay, in lieu of Chris, let's unmute one of our phone participants. Let us welcome up Nancy Dodson.
Mist impressions. Mist comes, dawn breaks on. Dewdrops here everywhere. Light pours into blurred eyes. The rainy mist comes. Light breaks into dots. The flowers are in. Petals fall. Mist comes, a rain torrent. Leaves fall. One cannot see.
Thank you, Nancy. And it looks like we have someone who's coming in a little tardy. Mr. Chris Fitzgerald, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, it's your turn now.
Yeah, you didn't unmute me. All right, this is called.
I can't unmute you. You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, but I didn't have the unmute button. I never saw it. All right, but it doesn't matter. This one's called Marlon. You know what you can do with that Oscar. The off-screen incident happened probably 1973, the year after Marlon won his Oscar for The Godfather, Don Corleone. In 1972, he also was in another movie, Last Tango in Paris. He made millions for his role in that movie. Bernardo Bertolucci, the writer and director, also made millions. The female lead in that movie, just as integral to the success of the movie, Maria Snyder, made $2,500. $2,500. In 1973, when her friends were going on vacation south of France, Riviera, Maria didn't have enough money to get her own place. She had to share a place with two of her female friends. So the neighbors, plenty of times, heard someone in distress. Are you coming out? I'll be out in a minute. You said that 10 minutes ago. They only had one bathroom. Brando had 4 bathrooms that year. Bertolucci 3. Are you coming out? I'll be out in a minute. You said that 30 minutes ago. One of those 4 bathrooms. Brando he couldn't tell you if the seat was up or down. He died 30 years later without realizing that knowledge. She was an actor. You were an actor. You should have looked out for her just a little. Brando had set up to receive the 72 Oscar, this Native American woman, Sashim Littlefeather. It was just a candy-ass Hollywood pose. He should have got up himself and dedicated this Oscar to the great American actor, Sitting Bull. Sitting Bull knew how to act, how to engage the person across from you honestly. That's the real meaning of acting, not the Hollywood, dig me, dig me. He's one of my favorite great Americans. If he would have been involved in the aforementioned Maria Snyder situation, he would have made sure Maria would have had at least a porta-john for emergencies only. Are you coming out? I'll be out in a minute. Forget about it. I'm going to use the porta-john. Porta-johns were rental products invented in America in the 1950s and were quite popular on American construction sites in the 70s and 80s. My favorite Sitting Bull line, he got himself a paying gig in Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. A reporter was asking him questions. 1884, New York City. Sitting Bull said, "You white men, you know how to create this great wealth. You just don't know how to distribute it." So now you know how we've ended up with a game show host as president and game show contestants as supporters. And this is the letter I sent. I wanted to read it last week, but I guess it got mangled up. Someone I sent three poems to. I shall be sending you 3 poems. The first is a conventional poem. The other 2 I consider poems, but most people, because of their harmful education, would say that they were poetic narratives at best. We are taught poetry by teachers and professors who I have found the only thing they know about poetry is that they can't write it. They spout an empty formula line. Poetry shows you how honest and beautiful the moment in front of you is, not the moment behind you, even if they are talking about something that happened 2,500 years ago. I shall utilize 3 of my favorite sentences from the English American language, wrote and spoken in the last 200 years to establish my worthiness. The first is John Keats, not in a poem, but in a letter to his sister. The excellence in every art is in its intensity, capable of making all disagreeables evaporate from their being in close relationship with beauty and truth. That's one of my favorite sentences of all time. The second is Walt Whitman, also not in a poem. He said, "America itself is the best poem." The third, D.H. Lawrence, was the title of one of his poems. The poem itself was ridiculous and pathetic. The title is, "What a Mess We Made Out of Love Once We Made an Ideal Out of It." That line demonstrates for all to see the emptiness, which is at the center of all English and American romantic writing, and the poison at the center of the British Empire. Take up the white man's burden. Though I've beaten you and flayed you, Mad Island drove you into poetry, Shakespearean posture in it. I, like John Keats, Walt Whitman, D.H. Lawrence, would take one Martin Luther King Jr. over 3 to 4 quadrillion scumbaggy and Shakespearean actors. Romeo, Romeo, where art thou? Well, get Juliet. I'll show you my ass, and you can both kiss it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And Who are we going to move on to next? Who could possibly follow that? Or better yet, who has no choice but to follow that? Well, according to my list, we have Mr. Ed Gentleman Galt next. So, Mr. Galt, you are up, sir.
Okay, thank you. This one is a memoir poem, a memory piece. It's called Glutton. In my grammar school days, I was a latchkey kid. When I reached home, I was by myself. This isn't an Oliver Twist story. I wasn't an orphan. I wasn't beaten. I wasn't starving. But I did get grounded from time to time. Then everything was off limits. Watching TV, reading, going down the block to Rick's, going to the mall. And we didn't have the internet back then, so obviously I couldn't even play solitaire. I really didn't know how to anyway. But there was the chocolate cake in the fridge, and nobody said in so many words exactly that I couldn't eat it. So I became a glutton. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Galt. And now I'm going to unmute our final phone contributor to the open mic. So let us unmute once again and welcome once again Carol Weston, who is getting to the great part of Stone Soup being helmed by Chad Parento. Yes, I know that's not the point of the essay. I'm just joking. Carol, by all means, continue.
Okay, well, no one has ever done such a self-centered thing as I am. Okay, so let me see. Now you understand. A few months ago, John Mulrooney did a feature. I met him through Stone Soup. Anyway, he goes on. She has eschewed careerism, making of herself a steadfast iconoclast whose generosity of spirit has for 5 decades allowed her to intersect with poetry movements and communities that too rarely intersect with each other. She is the living memory and connective tissue of the last half century of American poetry. Her work is infused with the spirit of shamanism, a declarative witness that conjures unadorned essentials. Her readings are statements of the ethereal that fit well with today's performance poetry, while hearkening back to our earliest oral traditions. Oh dear. It is electrifying to be in the room when Carol reads. Those who have attended these performances, which have taken place at our most august institutions and some of our best dive bars, are in the presence of something otherworldly that helps us navigate this world. Bootstrap Press is in the process of bringing out a full collection later this year. She lives in Cambridge and Quincy, Mass, with her husband, John Galloway, astrophysicist and poet. Thank you.
Bravo, that was beautiful.
And thank you, Carol. And that's that was the intro. That was the intro, or that was the essay that helped. That was part of your spoke reading recently. And there's also a link that was provided by John of the website Litbomb, or the YouTube video from Litbomb, where they mention you with that with Kevin Gallagher. So that's exciting. I'll be looking forward to watching that later. And who do we have next? We're going to keep on going down the line. We're losing some of the line. Unfortunately, it looks like CC Ashargar is not going to be able to come back. I think he left the Matrix, as did Chris. Though I did want to say to Chris, I'm glad his connection's a lot better than it was last week. So there's hope for CC as well. So for now, I think let's go to Mr. Bill Lewis.
Ho, 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 ho. Oh, I'm looking forward to snow and whiteness and beauty and covering up all that dirty stuff. That's Salt Lake Valley. Isn't that gorgeous? We went up as far as we could. We got up to the point where the horses were like up to their chests and we just couldn't go any further. So we turned around and went on back down the hill. The dogs were like barely got their noses above the snow. Oh, as you know, I am very proud of the mayor, Janie, to have taken a stand against what's happening in Mass and Cass, and Mayor Wu was following up on that. I know it's a difficult thing. So of course, I wrote her a nice letter of appreciation, telling her how much I appreciated it. And I also volunteered, of course. I volunteered everybody that I can possibly think of. I have been a member of like every leftist group in Boston that exists. So I just volunteered them all. They're not going to like me, but hey, they're human beings. So I wanted to end with a beautiful thing because it is gorgeous and people are wonderful. And there's so much good in the world for all the evil and problems we see. Oh my God, there's so much that is just the opposite. And I had a grandmother. Oh my goodness gracious, I had a grandmother. And my brother, of course, well, he has horses. And he had, yes indeed, a one-horse open sleigh. And how can I help but over the river and through the woods to grandmother's house we go. The horse knows the way to carry the sleigh through white and drifting snow. Oh, over the river and through the woods, oh, how the wind does blow. It sings a nose and bites a nose that over the road we go. Over the river and through the woods to have a first-rate play. To hear the bells ring, hooray, hooray for hives and gay. Oh, over the river and through the woods, test drop my apple gray. Spring over the ground like hunting hound, for this is Thanksgiving Day. Oh, over the river and through the woods and straight to the barnyard gate. We seem to go extremely slow. It is so hard to wait. Over this river and through the wood, now to grandmother's cap I spy. Hurrah for the fun, is the pudding done? Hurrah for the pumpkin pie.
That was Bill Lewis. He marches to the beat of his own band. That's what. And his own horse and carriage. Up next, it's time for our musical interlude before we get to the final closing poet. Of course, he knows it's his cue. Let's welcome up Mr. Ethan Mackler. Thank you very much, Ethan. I'll be waiting for you when you finish that spaceship. And let's welcome up to close us out the second round of the round robin. Thanks to everyone who attended. Thanks to everyone who is thanks to those who are just here to listen, and thanks to those who are listening. I haven't checked in a while on our Facebook live feed. And rock on, everyone. And let's go to the person who, again, read his column this coming Tuesday, which is to say tomorrow, at Oddball Magazine, oddballmagazine.com. It's all one thing is the name of his poem column. Every week, a little bit of history, a little bit of politics, a little bit of his, a little bit of ancestry. He's got a little bit of everything. Fits it in as much as he can once a week, and it's plenty enough, and we love it. Let's welcome up Mr. James Van Loy.
Thanks, Chad. So I've got a poem here. This is one of my labyrinth poems again. It's called Light Alive Labyrinth, which was a real design that I had. Light Alive Labyrinth. Somehow, the 15 inches of snow from the tornado bomb southeaster, 70 to 80 mile an hour wind on the Cape melts in days of 60-degree weather. Middle of January, winter, it rains for over 24 hours and washes all that dirty snow away. So I arrived Saturday about noon, and the common pavement border is almost dry except for the last water leaking from the saturated earth of the new grass plot by the fountain. So I clear off the litter left by the snow and draw my Light Alive labyrinth, triple, double spirals like Newgrain's passage cave that lines up with the sun on the winter solstice. I wanted to make for a month of record warmth, record cold, and record warmth again, the temperature already dropping. I go up to the protests, the wars, the banksters, profiteers, the complete cancellation of human rights, the institution of complete corporate impunity, the enshrinement, indeed idolatry of unitary executive corporate personhood, now both exemplified in one person, Agent Orangehead, in the White House. So when I come back 1 hour later to see my work, they've come and dumped a load of dusty big grain salts on my creation, just like that. Later, my wife says they could have used it when we had the tornado blizzard, when downtown crossing was a fall hazard. But I can't believe they've covered my work. So it's not until the next day I see all three double spirals are still there. Under the chemical overkill gleaming with salt stains, natural arcs between my labyrinth abstraction of just such natural spiral process. At the center of my design, industrial chemical intrusion transformed by gravity and water into part of the art. And here's a little song to end out. Some people say a man is made out of mud, but a poor man's made out of muscle and blood. Muscle and blood, skin and bone, a mind that's weak and the fact that's strong. You load 16 ton of number 9 coal, and what do you get? Another day older and a deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me because I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. I was born one morning when the sun didn't shine. Picked up my shovel and I walked to the line. I loaded 16 tons of number 9 coal, and Strawberry said, well, bless my soul, you load 16 tons, and what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can go. I owe my soul to the company store. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Van Loy. And is with that, an unfortunate bear luck next time to TC Shagra. Hopefully he will be back with us at least next week, which hopefully there will hopefully be a stone soup before Christmas. My mom should be off her foot, but still otherwise okay. But just keep watching on, especially on Wednesday morning for the link, because that's the only time I feel comfortable doing it after everything has happened. And I'm sure everyone's okay. And we will, we'll see, we'll hopefully meet then. In case it doesn't happen, or in case some of you don't show up next week, I do hope you have a great holiday weekend and enjoy yourselves to the fullest, as much as you can in these crazy ass times. And yes, crazy ass is an actual term, a descriptor for 2021. They'll be in the encyclopedia, if they even do publish encyclopedias anymore. It'll be in the wiki page. So stay tuned for more news on that, and hopefully more news to be revealed for the January 2022 schedule. Dear God. Feels like it should be 2020, 2031 at this point. Anyway, take care of yourselves. We'll do the one last wave.
Can anyone hear me?
Oh, Mr. Chris, what's up?
Ethan, that sound with the guitar, that's fucking Cambridge 40 years ago. That's New Jersey 60 years ago. I love the sound of it. I just want to say that.
That was 60 years ago. God, I guess he's
New
telling
Jersey,
you,
New Jersey.
he's telling
New
you,
Jersey,
Ethan, God,
Bruce
you're old.
Springsteen. Fuck. New Jersey had a lot of great garage bands, man.
We're gonna do one more wave. Retake the wave. And okay, we're done. Thank you guys very much. And stay tuned for the Stone Soup Crouton poem coming up Friday. Happy everything indeed, Diana. Thank you so much for joining us and for listening. And thanks for sharing your words, the videos. I'll try and save some of these links for the Stone Soup Facebook page. Keep on looking at us for there. Keep on looking for news, and also links to other poems, works. There might even be a fundraiser or two for a poet in need in the next 48 hours. So keep an eye out for that. And otherwise, take care of yourselves and take care. Show's over. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.